John?
Trying to make you walk and talk up there.
So you can just relax. Yeah.
You know, it's really just using the.
Perfect. All right. Just want to let you know, yeah.
Oh, aha.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Don.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. One of the things I've noticed, I haven't done this for a long time. This is sort of a post-retirement supplemental income thing for me. It's not like I've been doing this all my life. I have not. But one of the things I have noticed from the times I've been out here is that people make assumptions. They look at you. They look at how you're dressed. They look at your demeanor. They look at how you move. They look at how you talk. And right now, you know, you guys are looking at me trying to figure out where are we going to go tonight. I'm old, I know it. I grew up when IBM Selectrics roamed the earth, and whiteout was a commodity product that they sold by the gallon. My first portable phone, I had to rip out of the wall. My first earbud was a boom box, you know? But you're expecting, no doubt, somebody who looks like me, acts like me. I don't know, I'm gonna be fixated on regularity. I get that, I do. And people tell me, well, you know, 70's the new 50. Well, I told my prostate that the other day, and he wasn't having any of it. You know, it's just not true. You know, you think I'm gonna crack wise about this morning's bowel movement, and how it would have been absolutely transcendent if I had managed to get out of bed first, you know? So you're looking at me now thinking, okay, are you gonna tell us where we're headed tonight or not? Well, I am. We're gonna talk about vaginas. Well, and you certainly want to know why. And I know you're thinking, man, this old boomer, why does he want to talk about vaginas? You know, clearly he doesn't have one. In fact, he probably hasn't seen one up close in weeks, maybe months, possibly years. Let me tell you something though. I have a computer. I've been on the World Wide Webs. They have pictures. And I know how to use the zoom button. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Man, you can't get any closer than that. You really can't. Now, I'm gonna talk about vaginas for several reasons, one of which they're just damn skippy. There are a lot of them. I mean, just look around you. You know, they're everywhere. Even though you do your best to hide them, we don't see them very often. You know, they're kind of well covered hidden in the shadows, and I can appreciate that. But do you know that for the very first time in the history of recorded human development, we have reached gender parity? There are now, just recently, as many vaginas on the planet as there are penises, or peni, or whatever the plural is for that. I mean, those are big numbers. And people who estimate these kinds of things, you know, who have nothing better to do than estimate these kinds of things, have estimated that by the end of this decade, there will be 51% of the world's population sporting vaginas. You know, those are big numbers. Be afraid, be very afraid. So 51%, let's look at those numbers for a minute. And I want to tell you that I started my professional life, such as it was, as a teacher. So old habits die hard. You know, I not only have to try to leave you with a laugh, but with some information, some facts, some of which I wouldn't take home with you because they're not likely to be true. Others really are. But let's look at those numbers for a minute. 51% of the population have vaginas. That leaves 49%. Of those 49%, 47 are fans. I mean, big fans. You know, Taylor Swift fan kind of fans. So that's about 98% of the population. That leaves 2%. Out of those 2%, 1% is right now dreaming about, thinking about, or actively involved in getting a vagina of their very own, even though they weren't born with one. That leaves 1%, and those guys don't want anything to do with vaginas. Don't like to look at them, don't like to touch them. If any of you guys are here, welcome, I'm glad you are here, but this is bound to be a long night for you. Right? So, before the women start heading for the exit, because I've objectified their most private and precious body part, just hang on for a second, I'm going to explain why. How many, just show of hands, how many guys in the audience? How many men? Okay. How many of you guys have ever been 14? All right. Pretty much all of you. Well, let me tell you, and you guys know this, a 14-year-old will objectify anything. Doesn't matter what it is. And in the absence of the real thing, they will improvise. Now, I like to cook. I'm not very good at it, but I manage. My mom taught me how to cook. Well, part of that process was every Saturday she would take me to the public market here in Rochester, because I'm a born and raised Rochesterian. And she would, at the end of the summer, take me to the cantaloupe bin. And she would say, you know, pick one out. And I'm, you know, probably 13 at the time. Then she'd tell me, you know, what you want to do is look for something that has a deep tan coloring to it, maybe with a hint of orange. If it's red, don't touch it. So I pick one out. She'd say, no, pick it up. So I'd pick it up, and she'd say, you know, grab it with both hands. Put a little pressure on it with your fingertips. And if it gives just a little, you know, if that skin just kind of indents a hair, you're onto something. Then she said, take the cantaloupe, turn it over, and press the end of the cantaloupe to feel the soft spot. Now, not the core end, but the blossom end. I mean, this is very important. So you'd feel that it had a little give to it. She said, now take a whiff. So I'd grab the cantaloupe, take a whiff. It smelled good. So my mom would say to me, now, if all of those things are in there, the inside of that cantaloupe is ripe, warm, wet, and ready. You know where I'm going with this. I mean, I got half an erection just describing it to you. That was my eureka moment. You know what a 14-year-old boy does with a ripe cantaloupe when he gets home in the privacy of his own room? It's into the end, flip that thing over, and it's all about the seeds, by the way. And you know, when I get home, my wife's gonna go, you know, dude, you are disgusting. I can't believe you said that. Well, look, ladies, I know, or you know that I know, and everybody else in the room knows that objectifying body parts is not gender specific. You guys do it too. I know that there's half the women in this room, probably their first true love was the handle of their favorite hairbrush that they affectionately named Steve. So, you know, it's not about objectifying. There's got to be something more to it. And I think there is. And if you give me an opportunity, I'll tell you. I'm a third generation Italian immigrant, which means basically that my grandparents came over from the old country, and my mother and father spent their life working, searching for the American dream. And in the meantime, You know, we'd go off to school and my grandparents would pretty much be our babysitters until my parents got home from work. Anybody ever live in an Italian neighborhood, by the way? To go up and down that block to babysit after school was the most treacherous trip in childhood. And I'll tell you why. Because if there are 20 houses on that block, you had 20 sets of parents with all the rights and privileges afforded to parents. So you had to be extremely careful what you did and how you did it. On one side were the Patones, the Perones, the Perettis, the Pirellis, and the Pasquales. On the other side were the Mogaveros, the Mineras, the Montechinos, the Maseratis, and the Goldbergs. I don't know how the Goldbergs got there. We love the Goldbergs. I think they were just looking for affordable housing and tried to find a place that shared the guilt. So they picked Catholic Italians. That's all I can tell. So I go up this street, and you know, the street looked like the Vatican. I mean, there probably were 50 statues of the Virgin Mary. Big ones, little ones, hands stretched, waving, praying. And in the living room window of every house was a giant crucifix. Just to let you know that Jesus was watching as you went up the street. Except for the Goldbergs, of course, who had a big Star of David on the lawn and a menorah in the window. So, well, except for Easter, when they changed it up a bit, they would put an empty crucifix in their living room window with a little note that said, "We didn't do it." You know, I'm not sure what that's about, but so we get up to my grandparents' house, and we're there one day, and I have an older sister, 2 younger brothers. So my older sister was kind of hand slapping me around, and you know, I was doing the same thing. Not violent, just, you know, what kids do. I was 8 years old at the time. So my grandfather would say, "Donnie, aspetta." So Donnie, you know, every Italian kid has a name that ends with a vowel. Donnie, Bobby, Jimmy, Billy, Tommy, Louie, Luigi, Nunzi, you know. And aspetta, to me, I just asked somebody the other day what that meant, a true Italian. And she said, well, it means basically now. And I always understood it to mean kind of like that. Now, hey, cut it out. Now, stop. So then he'd say, "Donnie, aspetta, vieni qui." Then I understood. That means come here. So the loose translation in an Italian household is, "You little shit, get over here now." So I run over there and I said, "Grandpa, she was hitting me." And he said, and, you know, this went up. And my mouth went like that. Because in an Italian household, the kid doesn't have the last word. It's the keeper of the wooden spoon who has the last word. So he says to me, "You know, hit the girls." I said, "But Grandpa," the hand goes up again. He says, "You know, hit the girls, respected the vagina." I said, "Grandpa, I don't speak Italian. You know it." He said, "No Italian, Donnie. Respected the vagina." So most Italian kids grow up with IASL, which is an Italian American Sign Language. They know several bits. One is this. One is this. One is this. And of course, one is this. So, the message, I think, and I've remembered it all these years, I'm closer to 80 now than I am to 8, but I think it's about respect. It's not so much about the objectification of anything. It's about the respect that you afforded. So, you know, that's about as deep as this gets tonight, but that's, you know, that's the message, that's what I learned. You know, we reached a milestone recently. You probably all read about it. 8 billion people now on planet Earth. We just reached 8 billion. I don't know if there's any mathematicians here or accounts, whatever, but if you do the math, I think it comes out to 4 billion, 80 million vaginas on the planet. That is a huge number. There's both power and potential in that. Now, if 51% of Congress had vaginas, we'd probably actually have some legislation. If 51% of the Supreme Court had vaginas, you'd probably actually own your own vagina. Instead of having a majority of creepy old dudes in black robes sitting at a giant desk with monogrammed drool cups telling you what you can or cannot do with your own vagina. I mean, this is just unacceptable, So, and I mean, there's real power in these numbers. If you take those 4 billion, 80 million, and I don't care where you are on the planet, and those people just wrote a note to their representatives, and I don't care who they are, Parliament, Congress, the Knesset, the Politburo, the Central Communist Command, the Taliban, it doesn't matter. If all of those people wrote a note and said to their representative, dude, if the temperature on this planet goes up 1 more degree, every vagina on Earth will dry up. Trust me, in the space of a week, global warming would be a distant memory. If you have 51% of anything, economic opportunity is right around the corner. It's the same with vaginas. 51%, 4 billion, 80 million vaginas. Do you know how much yeast that is? I'm just saying. So you don't throw out mom's bathwater. You just throw in a sack of hops and a few pounds of Belgian malt, and you've got yourself a fantastic microbrew. Vage Artois. Le Champagne de la Bière. And if anybody's had any microbrews, you know it can't be much worse than what's out there now. I went to college in 1968, left Rochester to go to college in 1968, which was the summer of love. Now, if there's a purist out there, they're going to tell me, well, that's not really true. It was 1967 in San Francisco, which is absolutely true. But I went to school in Wisconsin, so it took a year to get there. I mean, it was great. It's all, hair when I had hair, bell bottoms, mamas and papas, and this. Peace. Well, where is peace in this? It's not a P, it's a V. It's the sign of the vagina. And it meant peace, all right, but not peace on earth. It meant peace of, and where is it? Right? So you go to a party in 1968 and you part the purple haze long enough to see, and you flash the sign of the vagina. And then you look around. And if there's a young lady who's ready, willing, and able and flashes the sign of the vagina back, you're going to have a good nut. And by the way, that's, in 1968, the sign of affirmative consent. I mean, that's all the rage these days. We had it. That's what it means. You don't take, you get permission. Right? So you start flashing the peace sign, be very careful these days because you don't know what you're going to get back. Did you know that vagina is Latin? And it means sheath or scabbard. Something you put something in. So this is the teacher part of me. I want you to be able to go home and tell your kids that you were at Latin class tonight. And mommy and daddy learned a new word in Latin. And it's vagina. Here's what it is. But anyway, it is Latin. Now, who speaks Latin anymore? Nobody, except for priests. Now, if your priest comes up to you and wants to talk about vaginas, call the bishop. Because this is not good. Now, back in the day, though, Romans spoke Latin, which meant the entire civilized, semi-civilized world spoke Latin. Roman soldier would come home at the end of the day, say, honey, it's been a tough day, vanquishing the Visigoths. My sword is as hard as steel and it's dripping something nasty. Could you bring that vagina so that I could put it in? Men haven't changed since the 5th century, apparently. Throughout history, there have been some pretty impressive and accomplished vaginas. Catherine the Great, great Tsarina, if you can believe the historians, never owned a horse she didn't want to mount. Politics, Angela Merkel, German engineering, high performance, Maximum Torque, makes taking a ride down the Autobahn a whole new experience. Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, ouch. Mother Teresa, genteel, thoughtful, pensive, but decidedly underused. Entertainment, Madonna. I doubt she was ever like a virgin even before she was touched for the very first time. Minnie Mouse, I think it's the squeak. You know, Martha Stewart. A warm muffin dripping with honey by the evening fire. Faux shizzle my nizzle, chow down, Snoop Dogg. Science. Madame Curie. Who doesn't want a vagina that glows in the dark? For you women, no, if your partner's an anatomical moron, there's no like, dude, it's here. Please, it's over here. And for you guys, I mean, what could be simpler? The target's lit, just point and shoot. You know? So there have been some great vaginas throughout history. I want to make a point about respect, because I really do think that's what it's about. You know, you can make all the jokes you want about it and you know, rag on women and do all of that. But you know, I remember what my grandfather said, you know, all those years ago, respected a vagina. And I don't know if I don't do it really well all the time, but I've never forgotten it. I think that's part of the point of this, you know. And by the way, I do want to say that I've done the best I can to walk the talk, and I want you to know that I haven't told anybody this recently, but I put the cantaloupe back in the refrigerator. I don't know if I should leave you with that image, but I think I'm going to. So with that, I want to thank you very much. Say goodnight. Thanks for coming out. Hope you had a moderately good time. And again, stick around for a bit and have some refreshment with us. Thank you. All right.